If you're trying to conceive and feeling overwhelmed with fertility advice, then this podcast is for you. Welcome to Don't Tell Me to Relax, your fertility podcast and antidote to unhelpful fertility information. I'm Hannah, a fertility acupuncturist, teacher and campaigner for better fertility education. This podcast aims to empower and inform you about your menstrual cycle and fertility. It's basically all that information you didn't get in sex ed at school, with the aim of improving your understanding of your reproductive health and optimizing your fertility. Before we start this week's episode, this is a quick plug for our fertility support events coming up in our community in June and July. We have a webinar on unexplained infertility, Yin Yoga, a Q&A with our fertility nurse, and a drop-in tea and chat support group. To join, please just follow the link at the end of the show, and please do share with anyone who might also find this helpful. Hello, my lovely. I have got a great guest with me today. I am joined by Laura Wilkes, lovely Laura Wilkes, who is a women's health coach, a Yin Yoga teacher, and is it TRE, not tree practitioner?
I mean, you can probably say it both ways, but TRE, yeah, it stands for trauma release exercises.
Okay. So Laura is a TRE practitioner. And if you're in our community, you will have seen Laura because she has taught a couple of Yin Yoga classes for us, which have been amazing. And I do Laura's Tuesday night Yin Yoga when I can, because I really, really enjoy the class. I find Yin Yoga really healing and good for me. So I've asked Laura to come in today to talk to us about why Yin Yoga specifically is really good when you're trying to conceive. So Laura, would you like to introduce yourself, and can you tell us how you came to do this work?
Yes, thank you for that lovely introduction. It's such an honor to be here. So yeah, my name's Laura, Laura Wilkes, and I have been on quite a long journey actually of leaving my corporate London existence, where I was just on the go 24/7. Kind of call it my disconnected yang external life, where all I cared about was what I looked like, my career, and all the sort of external things that we worry about. To a journey back home to my body, to yin, to slowness, to softness, to more of the feminine energy. And it's really been through yoga and my yoga journey that's kind of unfolded. So I got into yoga doing hot yoga because I thought, oh, it's sweaty and it's going to burn calories and it will make me look good. So hot yoga was my way in. And my mum's been a yoga practitioner for years. She's got a really bad lower back and it's really helped her with her back. And she'd always say to me, come to yoga with me. And I was like, it's just breathing and lying on the floor. I'm really not interested in that, mum. My brain was too busy. My body wanted to move. I thought, nah, yoga isn't for me. But she finally got me to a class. And afterwards, I was just I don't know what has happened, but that was so amazing. And I feel like I need to share this with everyone. Since that moment, I've kind of stepped onto this yoga journey of learning yoga, discovering different types of yoga, and really learning about my body through that practice. So just learning to slow down through the practice of yoga.
Yes. And so what is it about? Because there are lots of different types of yoga, as you've alluded to. So what is Yin Yoga and how does it differ from other types of yoga?
So I guess most people are familiar with more of the flow yoga, the movement yoga, where you move with your breath, like Vinyasa yoga, Ashtanga yoga, Hatha yoga. And now we've got all the power yogas and just strong yogas basically that are go, 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 which really are like exercise. Whereas yin, if all those other yogas are yang, they're doing, they're moving, they're giving out. Yin is the feminine, the soft, the slow. So rather than flowing around the mat, moving around the mat, we're basically on the floor. So you don't really move off the floor. And we roll in and out of shapes designed to work deeply with the internal world of the body. So we hold a shape, for example, in a forward fold, but we would support it with maybe the knees bent, maybe a pillow under the knees. There would be a bolster in front of us. It would be a very supportive shape, and we stay for about 5 minutes. And I think that's what really scares people, because I'm I'll sit still for 5 minutes in a shape, oh, so boring. Or it's scary because we don't sit with ourselves. But actually, once you practice yin and kind of get into it, the power of holding stillness in a shape is just sort of every single level of the body. It works for the physical body, the energetic body, as you know a lot from all acupuncture stuff, the emotional body. I mean, you sit in a shape sometimes and people will just burst out crying and they don't know where it came from, but something released and freed, and they just feel so much better. So it's very different because it's really slow, and we probably hold about 5 shapes in the class. And you do a shape, you pause, you integrate, you allow your body to get the benefits of the shape into its system, and then you roll into another shape.
Yes. And why is it what is, because yin is obviously a Chinese medicine phrase. So why is it, why does it cross over with Chinese medicine? Like, where does that come from?
So yeah, it's all about the meridian channels.
Right.
So I mean, not all yin practitioners will look at it from a TCM perspective, but if you're, for example, let's say we're looking at the forward fold again, you're stretching the legs, inner seams of the legs, the back of the legs. So you're working with the liver, the spleen, kidneys. Their channels run on the inner seams of the legs. The bladder runs at the back of the legs. You're then folding forward, continuing the fold through the back body, which, yes, is your lower back and all the sort of stress and the stiffness and the stuckness we have physically, but it's also the bladder channel. And then you're compressing at the front of the body, which continues to compress all the meridians that are on the front of the body. So what we're doing is it's kind of like needless acupuncture. We're folding and we're holding and we're compressing to kind of massage out and unstick a lot of the blocks that we find in the body, so that then when we come out of the shape and lie flat, everything's open again, so the energy can move more freely through the channels.
And it's really interesting you say that, because I always feel like when I've done a session of yoga, yin yoga, and when I've had acupuncture, the feeling afterwards are very similar. And I guess that's really for any yoga, but definitely for yin yoga, in that I feel so much more sort of grounded. I'm a very like high energy, on the go all the time. My brain is always very busy. So doing something like yin and doing something like acupuncture is really good for my adrenals, because it really calms me down. And I do have that same sensation at the end. I mean, to be honest, like, acupuncture is easy because all you got to do is lie there, someone sticks
Yeah,
needles in.
don't do anything.
But they're both different, but the effects are the same. So do you think that is, I guess that is why there is that crossover?
Yeah, I mean, that also, but what you said there about your adrenals and stress. So, like, you lie in an acupuncture bed and someone's taking care of you, and
Yeah.
we live this really busy, stressful, go, 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 go life, and we don't actually stop. And if we do stop, it's not normally to do something to really regulate the nervous system. You come to acupuncture, you lie on the bed, stress hormones start decreasing, you move into parasympathetic. You come to a yin yoga class, you sit, you find stillness, you listen to chilled music, you roll in and out of these shapes. You're also regulating your nervous system and moving from a stress state in your fight or flight into rest and digest in your parasympathetic. And that's where healing happens. That's why they're both so beneficial, because we actually have to get into parasympathetic to allow any healing to come.
Yes, which leads me on nicely to my next question, which is, why do you think this works so well for women who are trying to conceive, or men as well? But I imagine that most of your classes are female. In fact, I think it's
Yeah, they will sometimes, my clients bring their partners. So I
okay.
always say, please feel free to bring your partners along. And they love it. And it's a really beautiful thing to do together, especially if you're on the TTC journey, because you're in this together and both of you need to be really managing your stress. Um, I can't remember now. Oh, what did you say? Oh, why is it good for TTC? Sorry, I was
Yeah.
like, divert onto the men's subject. I just think every time I have a call with somebody and I'm chatting about what's going on for them, whether it's TTC, whether it's something else to do with their cycles, everyone I speak to, there's literally never an exception, needs to slow down
Yeah.
and find stillness and breathe and release the stress response and come into rest and digest. And I just think yin is such an accessible touch point for this. Like, I teach every Tuesday at 8 online, so anyone can come. It's a really accessible price point. It's once a week. You come, you get into your parasympathetic nervous system, you sleep so deeply, you kind of reset yourself. So you wake up on Wednesday and you just feel different. So there's kind of that element of it, like the stress and the nervous system and the supporting sleep. Like, I always get messages on Wednesday and they're like, oh my God, I slept so well. And I call it like the yin sleep. Like just you roll off the mat and you roll into bed and you sleep so well. But I also think we trying to conceive can be hell in so many ways. And the emotional support is not really that strong from the doctors, from fertility clinics. And we really need to be held in spaces where we feel safe to really feel. And I think having a space to come to get into your body. I always say that let's pop our heads back on top of our bodies and just kind of realign. And it's like emptying out the brain to come into the body and just feel. And there's often a lot of sadness underneath the surface that maybe they've been trying to suppress or push away. And yin becomes a really safe space to come and allow that to move through them and to feel, because the more we suppress, the more it gets stuck inside of our tissues, the more it's stress, the more it's contraction. And we can't grow anything from contraction. So if the body's very contracted and held back and tense and stressed, it's not a fertile body. The more we allow ourselves to feel and to release and to open up and to expand, the more we're going to be supporting our fertility.
Yes, and what I really like about your class is that, exactly as you said, is that the fact that it's online. I think when lockdown happened, and that's kind of when I started practicing yoga more regularly, because I wasn't having to get in my car to drive somewhere or get on a tube to go to a class, and it would be taking like 2 hours out of my day. And the fact that you can put your pajamas on, you can like get in your bedroom, like I turn the lights down low, I put your playlist on, I ban anybody from coming in the door. And it's just like my time to kind of relax, and it's easy. It's like 8 o'clock. Like I can just watch a bit of telly, have my tea, go upstairs, get my pajamas on, and do it. And it's a really accessible way, isn't it? Because you never want it. It's a bit like going for acupuncture. I always say to people, don't let it be another thing that you feel like you have to do,
Yeah.
which then becomes stressful. And it's a bit like, having to go to yoga to kind of de-stress. It's like the easiest way to do it, and such a beautiful time of the day to do it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Decided to take it online because when I first got back to London, I've been living abroad for a long time. I went to a yoga class and I walked there and it took me half an hour, which is great, but I'm walking alongside a really busy road in London. I'm
Mm,
going to the class, there's only the hour slot. The Shavasana at the end was 1 minute long. And they're
mm,
like, okay, bye, see you later. And so I've moved through this kind of like de-stressing state to then open the door of the studio to being right back into the center of London to get myself home. And I thought, this needs to be online.
yeah.
And there's so much beauty. Like I've just come back from a retreat, like doing it in person is magical. But in day-to-day life, in order to make it accessible, having it on Zoom, most people come, say hi, they close off their camera. I mean, you do the same, close off the camera and just be in your own little bubble. So it's just such a safe space for you to come in and relax without having to do anything.
Yeah. And you know what? That also reminds me, the other thing is, because I'm absolutely terrible at yoga, because I have like, done more hit classes, run marathons, I'm one of those people that are like the antidote. I do all the things that, or I have done all the things in my life that are it's not the best things, but they've shortened my muscles, tightened my muscles.
Yeah.
Never stretch because it's boring. I can't be bothered. I haven't got time. I like high energy, high impact. So when I go to a yoga class, I'm actually really embarrassed about how shit I am at it. Like if I'm in person, it's like I actually feel slightly ashamed that I'm so tight and that everyone else is like getting into these amazing poses, and I'm looking around the room and I know you shouldn't compare yourself, but I'm a human being. Of course I do. And I look and I think, oh, I can't do that. And I literally have left yoga classes feeling worse
Yeah.
because of my own insecurities. And again, what I love about yin is that nobody's watching.
Everyone's got the right shot anyway.
No. So sometimes then I mean, if anyone ever saw my forward fold, it's literally like, I reckon I move like a degree forward, and
An upright forward fold.
no, that's as when I've been to classes, people are about, "No, you can go into the shape now." I'm like, "I am in the shape."
This
Honestly,
is my forward fold.
it is, and I know everybody always says in yoga, "It's not about how deep you can bend and all that." And I'm like, "Yes, it is. Yes, it is." So anyway, getting back to yin yoga and doing it online, is that all of that mind stuff that can go on, what it can go on for me in a class, is gone, because it's just me in my room making a bad shape, but
But feeling good.
I'm feeling right about it.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm the same when I go to I sometimes have to like I want to go to classes to be held myself and you learn when you go to other teachers. And every time I go to a yin yoga class, the studios are packed and you're so close to other people. You can't help but open your eyes and have a little look or like have a little look at the teacher or the teacher walks near you and it's a little bit distracting. And then when you do it online, you can't see anybody else. It's
Yeah,
literally just you. And you don't even
yeah,
need to look at me on the screen because most of the time I'm not doing the shape anyway. I'm just sitting and chatting away. So it's very, very internal. And I think even like you've just said, we're used to like running and all the hit stuff and all the fast, 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 fast. It's all the external stuff where actually yin is changing it and it's like inside out. So you don't care what you look like from the outside. It doesn't
yeah,
actually matter.
yeah,
And I know we all say that, but I really do mean it. Like it doesn't matter what it looks like. It just matters that it feels good and you can feel something shifting inside.
yeah. Yeah, and I guess the other thing is that it's easy, isn't it? And when I say easy, in that you're not doing anything, it's a comfortable stretch.
Yeah.
It's like, because of all the cushions and the way you get into it, it's like I always just feel so much better afterwards.
Do you sleep well
Always.
after?
I need to really be doing it every single day, but
Yeah, I know. So do I. So do we all. So do we all. But like the class I teach is 75 minutes long. But we can just take one shape. So if you like forward folding before you get into or in bed, do a forward fold and then go to
yeah,
sleep. Or like lie with your legs up the wall there. There's like little things that we can take to put into daily life. So I do think it's about the accessible the daily things we do make the biggest difference. And if you
yeah.
find accessible healing for yourself, even if it's just 5 minutes every day to get out of your stress response and release the stress cycle to get into rest and digest, like that is so healing for us.
Yeah. And like you say, it's so important, isn't it, when you're trying to conceive because, you are caught in that stress cycle and it's unavoidable, isn't it? And it's like you can't get out of it. I always say to people, you can't not be stressed, but you can find things that are the antidote to feeling stressed.
Yeah, totally. And also, I think it's about allowing yourself to feel the stress and release the stress. Because if we're getting stressed if when your period comes and you really want to have a baby, like it's a horrible, like I actually think the TTC journey is really full of trauma and
Yeah.
that's not talked about enough. Like the trauma from a failed IVF cycle, from actually even going through IVF, from a year of not being able to conceive and not understanding why, like that all creates trauma inside of the body. And we need to be able to release that rather than hold on to it and stuff it inside of the tissues, because the more we kind of hold on to it, the more it does get stuck. So finding ways to release it, for example, coming to a yin yoga class and allowing the stress cycle to complete itself is really beneficial on the trying to conceive journey.
Yeah, and so what are your thoughts about stress and fertility? Because it's always such a complicated issue, and obviously this podcast is called "Don't Tell Me to Relax," and we're not going to
Mm.
say that. But what do you personally think about stress and how it affects hormones and fertility?
And I just think the more I kind of work in this field and study and kind of learn myself, the more I think stress is the root of everything,
Mm,
like everything. And sometimes it's not the big stresses. Like we obviously have so many big stresses in our lives. And I think often we don't think we're stressed because maybe work feels okay and our relationship feels okay and nothing huge has happened to us and we just feel like we're okay. But actually, missing breakfast,
mm,
having coffee on an empty stomach, commuting to work, sitting in front of a computer all day, maybe standing up at your desk all day, too much exercise, like thinking negative thoughts. They're all types of stress that we all experience every single day. So I think this modern society, most of us are living in our stress response and we don't know
yeah.
how to turn it off. And we think we're doing all of the things that we can to look after ourselves, but we're not releasing our stress. And there it's building up and up and up and up. And I really think it's one of the reasons that infertility is kind of on the rise for men and for women.
Yeah, and also I wonder whether at some point in the future it will be linked to the rise in autoimmune conditions as well, because
100%. Yeah.
there's such a huge rise in them in those conditions, especially in women, and this idea of kind of saying no and looking after yourself and acknowledge, myself included. I hand on heart put myself in this category of not even knowing that you're stressed because
Mm,
you've just been living a life for so long you don't even know it. And I mean, having just had a week off, it was interesting, like, for the whenever I go away for the first few days, I, like, don't know what to do with myself. I'm a bit sort of jittery because I don't know how to stop, and then by the end, I'm absolutely knackered, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking, "Okay." And so I sort of reached that where I've just sort of switched off, the stress has kinda left my body. But I sort of I need about 2 or 3 weeks off to really get into that place, 'cause
Yeah.
not enough. I can feel like I'm just getting there.
Totally. Well, also, like, when you actually start to relax, you get knackered, because
Yeah,
actually what we do, we suppress how tired we are, and we run on our adrenaline, and then when we stop, the body's like, "Oh, thank God." And then tiredness kicks in, and then you realize how tired you are. And so, yes, have 3 weeks off, but also it's like daily.
yeah.
How do you notice that? How do you make sure you're sleeping really well? How do you fuel yourself enough? How do you get out of your head and into your body and breathe and just kind of release?
Yeah. And I would also say the thing is that, you can't, as we were talking about this, weren't we, just before I came on, like, you can't tell somebody, "Don't be stressed," like, just relax, you
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
be stressed. I think it's about having, like, lots of kind of different, well, A, acknowledging that stress exists,
Yeah,
B, acknowledging that there is no blame to it, it's nobody's fault, it's life. I mean, look, you just gotta read the news to feel stressed, haven't you?
I
So
know.
it's the external of which we have very little control about, but in which we have to live, that is part of that. So there's no blame. So it's about not kind of blaming yourself or anybody else. And it's about looking at those sort of small daily activities or thought processes or eating patterns or whatever it is that you can incorporate without adding more stress in. So it's being honest, isn't it, about having a real honest look and thinking about, okay, well, what works for me, because yin yoga might not work for everybody, but going for an acupuncture treatment might, or it might be having a glass of wine in the evening and
Totally, totally,
just come out and say
totally.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you.
Very light
Yeah,
meal.
yeah,
If that is your thing, going out for dinner, then it's like, okay, working it out. What are the givers and what are the takers in life? And we
totally.
talk
And
about that, don't we, from an acupuncture point of view as well.
yeah, all of it. And it's like, I think, especially with TTC, don't drink, don't go and have fun, don't
Yeah,
exercise. Basically, don't do anything that gives you joy, because if you do anything like that, you will not have a baby. And it's like
yeah,
the messaging that's out there. And actually, have a glass of wine with your friends if actually that brings you so much joy and makes you feel better.
yeah,
Go on a run. If running was your thing, like, don't go and do marathons all the time and like everyday running, but go on a 20-minute run and it'll make you feel better.
yeah,
Like, we need to find ways. Like, I think what I find is a lot of women have these tools to release their stress, but they actually just maybe do it a little bit too much. And then somebody will
mm,
say in a fertility clinic, or the doctors, don't do that anymore. And they stop
mm,
everything. And therefore they're
yeah,
just sitting at home and the stress builds up and up and up. So I actually think it's more stressful when you say no to everything,
yeah,
than it would be to continue how you live, but just with the awareness of how to do it for your body. Because then it comes down to menstrual cycles, doesn't it? Like, before we even talk about fertility, how's your menstrual cycle? And are you living in alignment with your menstrual cycle? Because I believe that when you live cyclically and in alignment with each of the phases and what's happening with your hormones, you get to do everything,
yeah,
but just in balance. So you bleed and then you rise up with energy with estrogen, and then you unwind with your luteal phase with progesterone. And the hormones want different things. So you can go out with your friends and have a glass of wine, and maybe in your luteal phase, you're not going to do that. Or
mm,
you can do your one with a couple of HIIT classes, but then in your luteal phase, you want to swap to the more flexibility, the slower, the softer stuff. And so we can do it all. We just have to do it in alignment with our bodies. And I think when you live like that, that is a way to decrease your stress every single day.
yeah. Because the irony is, I don't know whether irony is the right word. I'm not very good at words, but anyway,
Say it and we'll see.
yeah, the
Don't.
issue or the problem that I have in my brain that I think about a lot, and I hear people say it in clinic a lot, is like, there are lots and lots of people out there who drink, smoke, take loads of drugs, lead a life, eat all the processed food and get pregnant by
Yeah, I
accident,
know.
you know.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't know what that is all about. And I think it's sort of, when we kind of like, and I know eating well and not smoking and not drinking, all those things have benefits, but I don't think they're the only thing.
I totally
I
agree.
think there has to be more to it, because it doesn't make sense
Yeah.
that a lot of people get pregnant without doing any, without any thought of all of that. So
Yeah.
when people come in, and I work with people and they're leading a very restricted life, and they're feeling very stressed about, whether they can have a drink at a wedding they've got to go to, or whether they should give up coffee, or they've given up coffee and they're now miserable. I often do have the conversation of like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know whether I'm gonna get hate mail from nutritionists now, but, because I'm not saying that nutrition, I believe it's really important. It is important, and it does make a difference. It's just the degree to which that's the one thing, because it's never one that, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's never one thing, is it? It's never the coffee. It's never, the takeaway on a Friday night. It's like this combination of lifestyle, and underneath everything, I do think that this addressing the kind of stresses of our lives and traumas of our lives underpins all of that, actually.
Yeah, I totally agree. I have a friendship group, and let's just like there's more, but there's six that have kids. Three of them really struggled to conceive. Three of them very restrictive with their eating, very obsessed with what they look like, quite addicted to going to the gym and living that quite controlled
Mm,
lifestyle. The other three eat what they want, McDonald's if they need it, cans of Coke here, chocolate bar here. They're not overweight, they just don't have the same restrictive
mm,
attitude to the other three. Those three conceived really easily, the other three didn't. And I
mm,
always think about this group and I think, what is it? Because you
mm,
would think, I'm like, every time she talks around the McDonald's, I'm like, oh God, it's so bad for you. But she doesn't care. There's just joy when she has it.
yeah,
It's not like, oh my God, I can't eat that. It's got this many calories in it. It's really bad for you. Which a lot of people have, which I don't advocate for McDonald's at all. Like, I don't eat McDonald's, but it's an example of that. Like,
mm,
it's not just one thing. And I think that's where stress comes into it,
mm,
because stress is control. Like when we're trying to control everything, it's contraction and it's tension and it's stress. And if
mm,
that's how you've been living your life, that is just accumulation of stress for years and years and years. And the thing is, when people say, I'm not stressed, it's not about how you feel right now. It's actually what's been going on in your life for years and years. I'll never
mm,
forget, like, I lived a very stressful London existence. And when I moved to Bali, I had an iridology session, which is when they look into your iris and it's like the windows to your soul. And she said to me, oh, you've got 7 years of deep stress rooted in your body. And I was like, what? I've left London 3 years ago. I'm like living this like hippie yoga life and I'm eating really well. But I didn't have a period. My period had gone AWOL ever since I came off the pill. And she really sort of shook me a bit and was like, stress doesn't just go away. Like stress
mm,
is embedded in your tissues. And unless you find ways to release that, it's always going to be stuck in your tissues. So
mm,
whatever the stress is, maybe it was grief from your childhood, maybe you lost a parent, maybe something awful happened and it's kind of like one of those bigger stresses, those bigger traumas, or maybe it's just an accumulation of lifestyle choices and habits that have been going on
mm.
that are causing the problems.
Yeah, and also I always think about that unexpressed emotion.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Of not being allowed to say no, not being allowed to be upset, all of those things that kind of, get stuck and damp, and because I guess what it is, it's not like a solid line, isn't it, between that situation and fertility problems. It's like a bit of a dotted kind of
Mm,
go around the kind of houses, its impact on your immune system, that has a knock-on effect on your hormonal system, which has a knock-on effect on your reproduction. It's not like a black line, is it? It's solid line. It's like a bit of a wavy go around the houses. But I don't know whether anyone's anyway. We're getting really deep into this,
it-
aren't we? But I wonder whether
it's so
it
interesting
is
though.
interesting, and it's complicated, isn't it? And I never want to kind of have the conversations to then put I don't want people to shoulder the blame or feel responsible of like it's my fault. That's the problem, and that's the whole reason of like it being "Don't tell me to relax," because infertility is a medical issue. It's a medical thing
Yeah,
that
I
is
just think that I think there is infertility in a medical way when there's something like you're not ovulating at all, or the man is not producing sperm, or the tubes are blocked, and like there's actually a real physical issue that we can find, even if it takes years of investigation, that's actually infertility, and therefore it's amazing. There's so many ways to help couples have children. I just think unexplained infertility, there is a reason, and I feel like, and it's to discuss so much more and research so much more, but I just feel like that is trauma and stress related.
Yeah.
And the medical world can't help with that because they don't know about it, but we can, and we can help unlock what's there. So yeah, there's just always got to be a reason, and there's not enough research into it all yet, but there has to be a reason why it's not happening. Maybe they're not with the right partner, maybe something's happened when they were younger, maybe they're holding on to loads of grief in their body. I always imagine a very stress contracted body and the womb just being so tightly wound in fascia that it's so small, and she can't breathe, she can't move properly, like there's no room for anything to grow. And the more you release your stress, the more your fascia softens, the more your muscles soften, the more your body opens and expands, the more your womb gets a chance to breathe again and expand, and that becomes a healthy vessel for a potential new life. So it's quite a good image of like this like real tight, like contracted, upset womb, and then actually when you deal with all the stuff that's going on, it gets to open up and expand. But I think it's not about, there's no blame. Like, I actually blame modern society. Like, modern society is we live in this society and we are all doing the very best we can with the overwhelming amount of information about eat this and don't eat this and exercise like this and try fasting. And it's just so many things. And we're not a one size fits all picture. Everybody needs to be like, there is obviously some very overarching things that a lot of us need to do to support our fertility and our cycles and our bodies, but it's also very individualized about what actually is the couple of things that person's doing, because someone comes with infertility and there's 5 couples, and actually each one of them maybe need a different kind of route to help them get to the root of what's going on for them.
And it's always so many different factors, isn't it? You know, you've got the female, you've got the male, you've got the environment, you've got the 2 meeting, you know, it's just like there's so many steps along the way. I guess also that's probably why there's not so much research into it, because it's so difficult to really properly study in any way, because you can't take account of individuals and differences, and all of those things make it really difficult.
I think that it comes down to then it's like experiential, isn't it? Like the clients that we work with and the changes that we see through the lifestyle stuff that we do, through the practices that we do, through the stress management that we do. And research takes so long to come out anyway. You and I probably be retired over time. There's more stuff.
So I can never read research papers.
I don't understand them.
I read the title and I'm like, that looks really interesting, and then like my head wanders off and I'm like thinking about what for dinner. So
I know conversation works for me. I need to talk about it and understand it through conversation.
Yeah. So just to finish up, Laura, can you tell us, because I know lots of people will be wondering, is it okay to do yin yoga while so for example, if you're going through fertility treatment, if you're going through IVF, can you do yin yoga during IVF?
Yes.
Right.
Your doctor is probably going to tell you no, because they tell you not to do anything. Yin is not just anything. And I always think talk to the teacher and be very aware of what's going on in your body, and talk to them about it, just so that you feel safe in the classes. But yin is so soft and so gentle and so deeply healing for your body and so good at releasing stress that if you're sitting in the 2-week wait, there's just so much stress going on, and actually coming to a yin class can help you release that. The biggest thing with yin and with all kind of exercise, especially stretching exercises, that relaxin, the hormone that increases during pregnancy, makes you more stretchy, more flexible. So I always say only go to like 60% of your actual range and use way more pillows to support yourself. But all my clients that get pregnant keep coming to yin, and they use it as a space, even if they just come lie straight down on the mat or on the side for however long the class is, because it's their space to relax and their space to de-stress and their space to calm. So yes, it is. If you ever want to come to my classes, message me about it, and I'm be more than happy to talk more, because I think it is important to have the conversations. My classes aren't pregnancy classes, but they are safe for pregnancy as long as I know people who are pregnant in the classes, and that would be the same for a lot of yin classes. There's a couple of poses that aren't that great, so like a deep twist or a sphinx, but I would always just say avoid those. Like avoid the shapes you can't do and use the rest of the class to relax.
Okay, lovely. And you do your yoga class on a Tuesday night online,
Yeah.
and you have got very kindly, you're doing a class for us in our group, which I have forgotten the date, but it is in June,
Yes, it is in
and
June.
I will put it on the show notes.
I wonder if I can find it really quickly for
If you
us.
can find it, put it in.
3rd of July.
Okay.
3rd of July.
So you work online on a Tuesday at 8 o'clock, so accessible for everybody. And Laura is also coming in to do a session in the group on the, did you say 3rd of July?
3rd of July.
On the 3rd of July. So if you're in our Facebook community, then Laura is there and she'll be doing her session live. Or also just to say that we record it and we upload it. So there are her previous ones. I think have you done 2 for us
I've done
now?
2, yeah.
So this is the 3rd one. So if you want to catch up, then they are available. So I will put all your details on the notes. And Laura, you are also training to be an acupuncturist, which is
I am. Yes, I am. Bring it all together.
so the world of acupuncture is going to have a great practitioner when
Thank
you
you.
qualify, because what an amazing background you bring to practice. So I am very excited for that.
Yeah,
So
thank you for the inspiration.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, I think it all marries so nicely together. My vision is like, I've got all these online yoga classes that I can subscribe. If someone comes in and it's liver, I'm like, here's my liver classes. So I need to action all my thoughts, and it's going to be amazing.
It is. I can see it already. I know it. I'm really, really excited for you, for the world.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Let's
your
help
time.
everyone. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
If you've enjoyed listening to this and want to find out more, then come and join my free community in Facebook. We have loads of resources. You can catch up on all our previous webinars and be the first to know about forthcoming events. To sign up, just follow the link in the show notes. And if you'd like to work one-to-one with myself or one of the team, then please see our website, hannahpern.com, where you can book in directly or organise a discovery call to find out how we can support your fertility and your reproductive health.